Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's March 10th. I'd like to go ahead and call the Children's Trust regular meeting to order. Before we get started, if I got a few things I have to read. So if any member of the public wishes to be heard, they shall come forward to that podium right over there. At the appropriate time, introduce themselves to the board. Members of the public will be recognized by myself, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. We've got a new timekeeping system up on the screen. It's green for 3 minutes. When it starts to get towards the end, I'll ask that you wrap up your comments. And if you could just introduce yourself, all the opportunity to know who is speaking to us. The clerk of the trust will function as the official timekeeper. The clerk will now call the roll to verify that at least 5 of the members of the trust are physically present for today's meeting.
Member Tina Certain. Member Mary Chance. Chair Ken Cornell. Dr. Nancy Hart. Dr. Maggie Labarda. Dr. Kamala Patton. Member Lee Pinkeson. Vice Chair Cheryl Twombly. Honorable Suzanne Wilson Bullard.
Okay, and so it looks like we have a quorum of the board present, so we can go ahead and take official action. The first item on the agenda would be the approval of the agenda, including any revisions. Are there any revisions? Motion to approve the agenda with the consent agenda. Is there any comments? We got a second from member Certain. Any comments? Or anyone from the public that wishes to speak to the all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that motion is unanimous. Okay, great. So now is the time for general public comment, where we give the folks that have attended the opportunity to about anything that's not on the agenda. You'll have 3 minutes. One that wishes to speak to the board. Once, going twice. Close public comment. Okay, next up, we have the chair's report. So as you all know, the executive director is currently out. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with some of our staff, which has been wonderful. Had, I guess, 3 or 4 hours the other day, which was great. One of the things that came up, however, is that we need to go ahead and pass a motion to give our existing CEO authority. So I'm going to request that somebody move that the board formally acknowledge and authorize the actions taken by the chief operating officer in the absence of the executive director, and direct the executive director to develop and present a policy establishing the COO's authority to sign on behalf of the ED when. Laura, is there any discussion? Public discussion to the motion?
I actually did. So we didn't have anything in place. Actively.
General policy. I don't think we have a formal policy, and it was the recommendation of our attorney that we just go ahead and develop or ratify that authority.
Oh, we had something in place. That's why I asked. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, anyone from the public wish to speak to the motion? Back to the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, super. So that concludes my report, and now we'll get to the director's report. Where you are recognized.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I, in the report, have 2 announcements, an announcement, and then one I want to introduce our guest that we have today. So the first one, I want to let the board know that we graduated our first cohort of postpartum doulas this past Saturday. And so we had about 30 individuals here, family members, celebrating those 12 postpartum doulas. Those doulas will be working in our community to provide services to families who have delivered babies in the Alachua County. There will be a maternal child health presentation provided to the board either in May or June, and so we'll be able to give you lots more information information when that comes, but we're excited about this first cohort. We'll be having a second cohort starting here shortly. And so we wanted to let you all know about that. Secondly, last month, ED Kiner shared with the board the accomplishments of Swamp Bots, a robotics program that is supported by the Children's Trust. Swamp Bots is a local organization that's dedicated to empowering the youth of our rural and underserved communities by introducing them to the world of robotics, helping them to build robots, helping them to program robots. In January, Swamp Bots hosted a regional robotics championship in Alachua, where I had the pleasure of seeing nearly 2,000 children, youth, and families, that community really coming out to support the talent and creativity of the youth in these robotics programs. So today we are joined by the Frogmen, a Swamp Bots team that placed third at the state competition and earned a bid to Cape Town, South Africa for a competition in May. So I'd like to turn it over to Kyle and Jason, along with the Frogman, who are going to show us a quick demonstration of how their robots work.
So basically told you guys most of the things about us. Oh, sorry. Most of the things about Swamp Bots and the Frogmen. This has been a work in progress for the last few years. We officially became a nonprofit organization to serve the community in 2022. And since then, we've grown from 9 kids in one team to 110 kids officially and 21 teams this past season, spreading through from High Springs to Alachua and all the way to Micanopy. We're super excited about what they have accomplished. This particular team 3 years ago missed going to the state championship by 1 position, and they vowed that that would never happen again, and it hasn't. They have been at the state championship 3 years in a row, and for the last 3 years, they have finished third in the state championship every single year out of over 650 teams. And even though the top 5 in the state of Florida has changed completely every year, this team has been there every single year. So we're super proud of what they've done. This is an example of this year's game field that they're going to run for you guys and give you a demonstration of their robot and what it does and how they've made it to the Open Africa Invitational in June in Cape Town, South Africa, which they are the only team from the United States representing not just Alachua County in the state of Florida, but the entire United States. So. Kyle, do you want to tell them a little bit about what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time we have really, but make it quick. They have 2.5 minutes to get as many points on this board as they can. Every year the board is different. The board is the same across the world. This is a worldwide league. So yeah, there's 620 points on this board to accomplish, and they can get about 460 if everything goes right. You guys want to show them? All right. So, I mean, yeah, so they have 7. Yeah, they have yeah, thank you. They have 7 programmed runs that they have programmed into this robot to do a multitude of different missions. So there's, I believe, I want to say 15 missions or 16 missions on the board, and they have to try to plan out their runs and program them all to do what they're supposed to do and get as many points as they can in the shortest amount of time. Now, this is the fun part. This is the part that we love to show off. But at the end of the day, this program isn't just about robotics. Okay, this actually represents only 25% of our overall score at our competitions. Another 25% is scored on rubrics by judges. They have to come up with an innovative solution to a themed problem every year. Then they have to go in front of a panel of 3 judges and put on a 5-minute presentation And throughout the year, they're building out a prototype for this solution. They're talking to experts in the field. They are doing research, working together to come up with solutions. It's all about engineering, right? So it's not just building robots. It's an entire STEM program that gets these, it's introverted, somewhat introverted, nerdy kids. And we say that with pride, out there and talking to real people and getting their ideas out there. We believe that, these kids have amazing ideas, amazing solutions, and if they're not taught how to get out there and show them and talk about them to people who can understand them, then those ideas could be lost, right? There's
How much time do they have in this exercise?
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. Yep, and they're just about done now. So yeah.
One thing, one thing that's super important to point out is that this is a student-led program. And what that means is myself as a coach, Kyle as a coach, and our other coaches in the program, we're more like mentors. We're there to help guide the students. We're there to help guide the students, but everything that is done from the building and creation and design of the robot to the coding and how they do their runs, all of that is the students. They come up with all this on their own and they do this themselves. We're just there to help guide them and direct them. And when they hit those walls and things don't go right, we're there to encourage them, because this thing, as you saw, will fail more times than it succeeds. And that's just part of the game. And it's our job as coaches and mentors to help build them back up and keep them moving forward. And this team is a prime example of what happens when you keep.
Well done.
Thank you.
Kyle, Jason, thank you so much. Very impressive to go from, one team of 9 kids to now 21 teams of 110 kids really shows, speaks for itself. So, Madam Clerk, Dr. Hart and Mary Chance are now in. They came in during the WampBots presentation. Yeah, thank y'all so much. Yeah, we saw that. We appreciate that very, very much. And Dr. Patton is also, Dr. Patton is in the room. Okay. All right, great. So that concludes. Okay, great. All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 10, which is the Community Foundation of North Central Florida Center for Nonprofit Excellence. My sidewalk presentation by Teresa Beachy. Recommended action is just to receive information, and we'll let Ms. Beachy go ahead and give us a presentation. So Teresa, you're recognized. Tough act to follow.
But we have had a tremendous, the meeting started, I started. And I have to say that there was. And we're excited. So a quick executive summary here. On the feedback of participants. Making sure that we have new and enhanced partnerships, and that we're following up on all requests for engagement, so that we make sure that we're really reaching those folks who have the highest need for the services that we offer. So far since October, we've conducted 14 formal training sessions to over 200 participants. That included 89 duplicated Children's Trust attendees. In addition, we had 68 individual support sessions. That is the #1 request that I'm getting, is meeting one-on-one with folks. And 7 of those included planning sessions where we're able to help with theory of change work, impact work, and what we'll be starting on our nonprofit life cycles this coming spring. And then 14 of those were CTAC funded programs as well. So the feedback, again, is kind of really where we're getting direction. And I wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the things. In the first column there, what was helpful, the first comment there, that my goal for the session was to get a clear understanding of what's expected and to find simplified means to gather the expected data, success in both regards. So we've been talking a lot about data, a lot about evaluation, a lot about how to tell the story and really create your impact. In that second column about the takeaways that they had, my favorite one here was that there's enough need in the community that we don't need to compete, and collaboration increases our capacity. Getting that word out is really kind of my goal overall for the success of this project, is increasing capacity by collaboration. And then in that final column where we're asking about how you can implement, the first comment there is, from this workshop, I know I can share a clear understanding of what is meant by outcomes, outputs, and impacts, and the means to demonstrate those in various ways. Again, really trying to get to the heart of how our nonprofits can better tell their story so that they can start swaying the conversation in our community from charity to investment. Operational needs, we knew from the beginning was going to be a key factor for a lot of our organizations. And so just getting feedback about what their operational highlights were. We are learning that the collaboration and learning opportunities are really giving our agencies that venue to validate, to discuss, and then to problem solve. And that's really what's bringing this community together and creating that collaborative cohort environment. We spent the last couple of weeks, the last week of February and the first week of March, doing visioning for the organization. One of the things that I always encourage our organizations to do is to take that breath and make sure that you're on the right track and periodically kind of vetting where you are. And so I took my own advice and I told everyone, look, we are building the ship as we sail it. So let's make sure we're going in the right direction. And I was able to have one-on-ones with almost 35% of our C&E members over that 2 weeks. And they came up with so many of what I thought were priorities, but that they also identified were the priorities. So board recruitment and engagement, fundraising, diversification, and competition locally, collaboration and cohort creation, using AI and technology in their organizations, better business practice and responsiveness, and then training and succession planning. So those were the key topics that we identified. We've already scheduled out a number of those. We have an operations conference coming up at the end of this month. We're starting our coordinated community response and collaboration cohorts next month. We scheduled a board retreat style workshop in July and a fundraising conference in August. So we're just continuing to look and see what it is that people want so that we make sure we're able to meet those needs. We've also done a lot of recruiting. So Christy and I have been working very closely to see which organizations you all are funding. And then we're reaching out to make sure that 2 things are happening. One is that they're in the hub and that they're verified so that they have all of those legal requirements as a solid operating nonprofit. And then second, that we're encouraging them to become members of the C&E and really take advantage of the operations and support that we're providing. As a party of one, I kind of want everybody to come, but I also kind of don't want everybody to come because I'm a party of one, but we're getting there. And our operations conference, we have 50 slots. And as of today, we are already 50% registered. So we know that people are excited about it and we want to increase that programming. And then our ongoing focus areas, this is what I had presented originally to the Community Foundation Board and is part of the business plan, that really we're focusing on what we're calling core strengths: capacity, operations, responsiveness, and then driving to excellence. And what I really feel is that we can get to this and really through the visioning with our members and the ongoing collaboration to build relevant and actionable experiences. One of the things I know from sitting in that nonprofit chair for so long is that it's wonderful to have training, but it's really great when you can take something back from it that you can implement right away, or that solves a problem for you or creates a connection for you, so that down the road, when you experience something, you know who to call. One of the things we're finding in our dialogues, and I've got a couple of our directors here that we've all said the same thing, it's never a bad thing to say, I don't know, as long as you can follow it up with, but I know who to call. And so that's what we're really trying to create for everyone. We also wanted to talk a little bit about the Philanthropy Hub. And the Hub, of course, is our local version of GuideStar. It's a searchable database of nonprofits that we launched back in 2020. It has 120 reporting requirements that give a full overview of a nonprofit's health and where they are in the process of being a legal business operation. There are 200 organizations currently registered. 125 of those have been verified. We check that every morning. So we're trying to do a turnaround of less than 72 hours for anyone who submits for verification. And this is a process that again can help build capacity for our organization, as well as transparency for our donors and our funders. So what we're able to do and how this can help the county is that it vets those organizations from the beginning. So Christy got the list this week from me of all of the organizations that you fund and where they are in that process. So that is information then that you can kind of see how your organizations are doing in getting that particular contract requirement filled. It can streamline the grant process because once they're verified, they shouldn't have to resubmit all of that information for future grants. And then again, it's that collaboration to make sure that it's not so much about not duplicating funding, but as coordinating funding, so that we make sure that the programs are all working together as best we can to create that collective impact. And then of course we can pull from this the annual State of the Sector report, which I worked with the chamber earlier in the month to provide all of our nonprofits with a State of the Sector impact letter that they can include now for their funders on their websites and their newsletters, however they would like, that just shows the economic engine that our nonprofits in Alachua County are. And we think that in the current climate of funding and uncertainty, it's important to be able to really reinforce that message that we are businesses and that we are not only providing public good, but we're doing it in a way that creates an economic engine. Also, we have now launched and it's operational, the My Sidewalk project. And we're really excited about this because along with that State of the Sector report that we can provide in the hub, this gives us another opportunity to really look at community indicators and the health of our overall community. In collaboration with many local experts, Nancy Hart being one of them, we were able to identify 3 primary fields of focus for the indicators that we're using at the Community Foundation, and those are education, health, and livability. Livability is also the focus of the chamber this year. That was one of my goals being the chair, is to make sure that we're all speaking from the same sheet of music so that we can make sure that we're getting those messages across. The next steps with the My Sidewalk is really to work with you all to highlight the community indicators around your pillars of impact and making sure that we're able to pull the reports that you want. It is functional. I know some of your staff have been able to log in and see how that works. We are working locally with experts that hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll be able to show you some of the reporting that you can pull for indicators in your pillars. The access, it's right there on the Community Indicators website that's hosted by the Community Foundation's webpage, and it's really open to anyone. So the goal is, again, to start to promote this for maybe corporate sponsors or the county or anyone that's looking to see where the gaps are and what we can do collectively to create some impact in those areas. Say thank you and take any questions that you may.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Members, questions? Member Certain.
Thanks, Teresa, for sharing with us the info. Honestly, I was a little, when I read through this, I was a little bit unclear of what My Sidewalk program was. Help me with that. I've heard what you just said right now, but I don't fully grasp it. Is it mainly a reporting tool?
It's an incredible database that really allows us as a community to gather data from a variety of websites that then can collectively create reports on indicators that we're interested in learning about. So like the maternal health one, and Nancy, you might know where all it pulls the indicators from to collectively pour into that database, but it's basically a research tool that allows us then to say, we want to know about what maternal health looks like in our community, or we want to know about what the housing situation or food insecurity looks like. And then we can run reports on those specific things as well as part of larger indicators that would kind of put everything that would impact health together in one report.
So, that Bieber report is kind of what when you were talking, I kind of, what of inequities that you have kind of
Yes.
compiled. So this is something similar to.
It would be a comparable database, yes,
But real time.
but real time,
And it
exactly.
pulls from everything from census data. From my Florida charts data, it pulls. Aggregates. based-
So is a database created and compiled by the community foundation?
No,
Or
it's
is
actually
is this like a subscription?
My
It's a
sidewalk.
subscription. So this is a subscription to that, okay,
Yes.
okay.
And we don't math quite that well, Tina.
Well, hey.
Thanks for the vote of support there.
Thank you.
Okay, any other question, Member Chance?
Christy, you may be a better one to ask this. Is that a green light to apply or is that a green?
Push your green button, then you'll be picked up online. There you go.
Is that step in the process at the front end when they apply or when you enter into contract negotiations and sort of now with the percentage of applicants having met those requirements? The philanthropy hub requirements.
Thank you. That is a requirement prior to accessing the application. So it is a minimum qualification before you can bid. And so what we did is we had the representatives from the Philanthropy Hub on our bidders conference, as well as to host a informational session at the very beginning so that they know that process, how to use that process prior to applying. But to reference what Teresa just said, they then send us a report because we have to monitor that throughout the year so that we can also, remind our providers to continue to maintain their verification through the hub. So this was the first RFP that we released that required that in the beginning. The ones that are already funded, we are monitoring it and to make sure.
That makes sense. I'm happy to hear it's on the front end. I have one quick other question that's really for Teresa. I have in my head what coordinated community response cohort might mean, but I may be making that up.
So the coordinated community response model is actually something that's unique to domestic violence, but is applicable to any social justice issue or social impact issue. The good news is it takes no money. It's a coordination effort. So it allows us to bring people together at a table and create either what you would call an asset table or a Venn diagram to see where we all mingle in terms of work, in terms of resources, in terms of need. And then it allows us to create cohorts that would work on those individual overlaps as a way to better coordinate. So for example, we have a lot of mentoring and enrichment programs right now that have come to me and said, space is an issue. The Swamp Bots just said the same thing. Space is an issue. So if we can get all of those folks together and say, well, collectively, what if we could share space? And what would that look like? So that we can reduce the amount of capacity investment that they have to make individually within their organizations and can make that investment collectively so that they have more funding for, I don't know, health insurance for their staff or the ability to increase programming. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to create that coordinated response. In domestic violence, what it looked like was safety and accountability, safety for survivors, accountability for batterers. In this environment, it would look a lot more like what can we do to sustain programs that we know are up and running but have some gaps, and what can we do to build capacity for our smaller startups where we can find ways to overlap. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just have a comment for the board. I don't think we can imagine how useful this is gonna be in it. I mean, it's sort of like being on the first step of an escalator and we're going straight up. And I wanna really thank Teresa because I was one of those individuals in the community learned when I heard you were leaving Peaceful Paths. But kind of like Brian May's father, I get it now. Go girl.
It is a chair that I relish and I'm honored to be here. I have found it incredibly fulfilling and validating that all of the craziness that I went through for 31 years really prepared me to help others navigate their own crazy and figure out a way to not panic and to really kind of continue to move forward. So it's very exciting work. I appreciate it.
Okay, my comments, Teresa, are your first paragraph or second paragraph in the first slide really just hit it out of the park for me, as far as I'm concerned. 14 formal training, 209 participants. 8 individual sessions, 7 planning sessions, 14 of those are CTAC. That is work being done on behalf of the organization, which we are leverage immense dollars for. My question really is the only question I have is what extent are you able to evaluate an capacity and financial viability? And when there isn't private fundraising source, how are you able to connect other collaborate, but actually combine to form a stronger organization? One, when you may have 3 that are not strong.
I think it's going to be a 3-prong approach. The first one on the assessment side, Maggie, myself, and Tracy Berger from the Ed Consortium have all been trained in the nonprofit life cycles model, which is a very new and innovative way of looking at strategic planning for nonprofits. Any of you who have been on a nonprofit board or you've served in a nonprofit, you know that they've traditionally used the same business SWOT analysis and timeline. It doesn't work well for nonprofits. It's unwieldy, and it really doesn't speak to the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars of nonprofit operations really are management, governance, finances, and administration. So if we can speak to those and how they funnel into mission, values, and programs, then we're more successful in helping them actually plan. And it involves a self-assessment so they can see where they are. Are they in startup mode? Are they in a growth pattern? Are they at maturity? Are they in decline? Where are they in their cycle so that we can help them figure out how to either take steps forward or sustain? The second approach is having honest conversations with folks. I think that nonprofit work is mission driven, it's passion driven, and being able to have an honest conversation with someone to say, you can either become collaborative and figure out a way to coordinate, or in Maggie's wisdom, become terminally unique. And
I think that's a very nice way of saying it.
yeah, I've used that. We have an ecosystem of nonprofits here that cover the entire range. None of them is unique. All of them are working in a Venn diagram situation. And so it's really trying to figure out how we can maximize those overlaps. I always use Peaceful Paths as the perfect example because we had the only domestic violence shelter, but we were one of multiple victim advocacy groups. And if we hadn't coordinated with them, we would never have been able to do the work that we do, and eventually led to reductions in domestic violence homicide, increase in awareness and education. That was all because of partnerships. And so if you aren't willing to partner, then at some point we have to say, then we're not willing to, and fill in the gap, invest, fund, continue to sustain. And then I think the third approach of that 3 prongs is really creating environments where people feel safe to have those discussions that are really critical to nonprofit work, having that environment where you can feel validated about the things that you're experiencing, and not be afraid to share those so that, again, you can say, I don't know the answer, but I know who to call, and have those mentorships and environments of cohort and leadership together. We're starting a leadership certificate program this fall. I'm getting the second part of the certificate training this week, and that will give them a Wiley Foundation certificate in the Leadership Challenge, which is a values-based leadership education program. It will create a fantastic cohort of people who are learning to model the way, enable others to act, inspire, challenge the process, and encourage the heart. And that kind of values-based leadership can really, again, move our ecosystem forward as we're doing all of these coordinated things all at the same time.
Okay, thank you for that response. All right, the recommended action is just to receive the information. Could I get a motion? Board, is there any comments further from the board? Any public comments to the presentation? Thumbs up, 4 thumbs up, 5 thumbs up, a bunch of thumbs up. Thank you so much. Back to the board. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Well deserved, and I do like that, you know, at the county commission, we have to do this and we have to do this, but here we clap. Which I like. It's good, yeah. All right, moving on to item 11, which is a partnership for strong families, Family Resource Center, Community Resource Navigator, and Help Me Grow. The recommended action is, again, for the board, is asked to receive the report and read this presentation. Welcome.
We're going to share with you today some of our highlights and achievements from fiscal year 23-24. Oh, who is in control of? I did not ask. Oh, so I just wanted to start by thanking the Children's Trust of Alachua County for your continued support and for your belief in our programs. For those of you who may not know, Partnership for Strong Families is the lead community-based care agency for 13 counties in North Central Florida. We provide comprehensive child welfare services that range all the way from primary prevention to foster care and adoption. And I believe that you will find here today, kind of throughout our presentation, that our prevention programs are directly aligned with the priorities that have been set forth by the Children's Trust. So last year, the Trust funded 3 of our programs. That's Family Resource Centers, Community Resource Navigation, and Family Resource Center Consulting. And also coming in April of this year, we're going to be rolling out Help Me Grow Alachua. To do it on that computer. So just to to make it very simple, we believe that child abuse is preventable. And so that's the foundation of our resource center model. We opened our first Family Resource Center in 2009, and since that time have expanded to 4 brick and mortar locations. 2 of those are in Gainesville, Alachua County, and that's Library Partnership Resource Center and Swag Family Resource Center. And our nationally recognized resource center model is kind of a common thread through all of the programs that are funded by the Children's Trust. So we wanted to start with just a brief overview of our model. And I'm going to let Shane.
So going a little bit into our Family Resource Center model is really based off of 5 key tenets, which is place-based service delivery, community-driven service array, community collaboration, and then relational versus transactional consumer service approaches. And so with those 5 pillars, they are used across our FRC model and across our Planet programs. And so
I'll go into it just a little bit more detail. So our place-based service delivery really just kind of highlights, all of our centers are very strategically located. The ones in Gainesville, they're data-driven. We're in communities where we knew that there were high risk factors and also historically limited access to services. So our goal is to bring services right to those communities. We'll see the same thing with our community resource navigation program. We're in communities that have difficulty accessing resources, and that it's really a common theme for us. And as far as the community-driven service array, we start off by doing needs assessments in those communities. We identify what it is that the community themselves feels they need, because we often think that we know what they need, but they may or may not be ready for those services. So we do an initial needs assessment, and then we continually monitor that through surveys and interactions with the community members. Community collaborative, we have more than 100 community partners at this point. We are by no means the experts in all of those areas. We bring in our community partners and we have them provide those services for them. We're going to talk a little more, but all of those services are free to the community as a result of those community partners. Relational versus transactional customer service. Again, our customer service model, it's a very significant part of our model. We really work to make sure everyone is met where they're at, and that they are always treated with respect and cultural sensitivity. We start that from the day we hire someone. When we're interviewing, that's what we're kind of looking for, is someone who can provide that type of approach to the community. And finally, protective factors framework. I'm going to have China talk a little bit. It has its own slide, but that's the framework that we use for our model.
The 5 elements of the protective factors framework, and you'll see each of those definitions on the evolution of our FRC model in your handouts. But they are concrete supports, knowledge of parenting and child development, parental resilience, social connections, social and emotional competence of children. Each of our services that we provide, as Stacey mentioned, are all free, and they're based off of those 5 protective factors. Just for the sake of time, we won't go through each of the definitions. As I mentioned, they're in your handouts, but we did want to kind of call up some quotes that we got from patrons from our different sites. So one, in the knowledge of parenting and child development protective factor, says, I've picked up on cues that my son's quietness means he had a bad day. And I remember, okay, pay attention to the nonverbal communication as well as the verbal communication. So basically, through a lot of the workshops and resources that we provide through our resource centers, they're on knowledge in parenting and child development. And so that was one of our parents who mentioned that they saw the increase of verbal and nonverbal communication with their child due to those resources. And then also we provide a lot of concrete supports as well. And so another quote was, the resource center was an integral part of getting out of the homeless shelter, because I was able to use the computer and apply for housing and the EBT, or electronic benefit transfer. And so a lot of our patrons, as we mentioned, in our resource centers are able to provide that with them, as well as providing other sustainability efforts to help upward mobility in their lives.
If you're interested in learning more, there is a handout, and you can also visit the website for the Center for the Study of Social Policy.
So another program that we're so fortunate to have the Children's Trust fund is our Community Resource Navigation Program. And basically, it's a way to expand our reach from our FRC model without opening an additional brick and mortar site like the ones that we have here in Gainesville areas. And so our CRN program provides family support services through shared locations in rural Alachua County communities or areas of Gainesville not currently served by our Family Resource Center. And so last fiscal year, we had locations in Alachua, Hawthorne, High Springs, Micanopy, Porter's Quarters, and Waldo. And we actually added a couple more sites, Newberry, as well as I think Newberry is the one that we're added this year recently. And so we currently have 2 CRNs that kind of split the locations and do this work. And they are equally effective in providing those services based off of these strengths-based approach.
Basically, how are we doing? We're looking at our Family Resource Center and our Community Resource Navigation Program outcomes together because they're both considered part of our Resource Center network. And as far as how much, we had more than 21,000 patron visits last fiscal year. And we also addressed nearly 24,000 service needs for those patrons. When we look at parents and caregivers supported, we had just over 1,700. I did want to note, because that's a pretty significant difference in those numbers, I wanted to note that this is an unduplicated number. And it also, we have found it to be a somewhat difficult number to collect. It is self-reported and it gets a little complicated when we have large events, but this is an area of focus for us. As we speak, we're working with IT and with Bonnie here at the Children's Trust to try and improve our data on this, because I suspect it's much higher, by no means lower. And we also had 635 who were in, who participated with programs that were specific to increasing knowledge of parenting and child development. Again, this was a focus that we had last year, along with the Children's Trust. And we truly believe that when we roll out the Help Me Grow program, which we'll talk a little bit more about, when we roll that program out, we're going to see this number increase significantly. And also always proud of kind of the how well, and that's our patron and partner satisfaction. It's pretty consistently between 98 and 99% any given year. So they're generally very satisfied with the services that we provide. We collect this information with anonymous patron satisfaction surveys that they can fill out at the end of every visit, and then an annual partner survey. And finally, we have a 93% rate of successful service delivery. Again, very exciting. Very, very rare that a patron would leave a resource center without receiving at least some type of information or a resource to help them meet their need. You can't quite see the quote, but we have a quote that we shared from one of our partners as well. And that was part of our partner survey. Probably most important is what we're doing. Are our patrons better off for what we're doing, or the families that we serve? So we have saw a 67% of those that were surveyed increased in one or more protective factor. And the tool that's used was used last year is the Protective Factor Survey 2, which is an evidence. We also had 76% of individuals who set goals with Resource Center staff met at least one of their self-identified goals, and 77% reported an improvement in one of 5 areas. And I have them here. That was their household needs, work and education for adults, school and or childcare if there were children in the home, relationships, and health. And we also included here a success story. For the sake of time, I'm probably not going to read the story. I'm just going to share. We have a lot of patron success stories. It is always a wonderful feeling, and I think it's the reason that our staff come back every day to do the work that they're doing. This particular story kind of followed a family that had left a family violence situation and then called back to report that they were feeling hopeful and safe. And I just don't think it gets any better than that. The support that was provided was by our Family Resource Center staff, but it was also numerous community partners. And so it's also a really good example of community collaborations. And the quote that we included, it's one of my favorites. Basically, the patron is letting us know that we're not only giving them things, but we helped her to feel like her own hero. And I think that that's really a good example of what we try to do at the resource. Try to not only just meet that basic need, but we're really trying to equip them to be more successful in the future. So that was absolutely one of my favorites. I'm going to turn it back over to China so she can share about the consulting program.
As a prevention consultant for partnership, I am excited to talk about the consultant program. We saw a lot of growth and success in the last year. So we are currently working with two different sites right now, which is the One Community Family Resource Center with Pastor Duncan here in East Gainesville. Then also the William A. Stokes Family Resource Center with Bishop Stokes in Micanopy. So with the support of the Children's Trust, we've been able to provide expert training through the strengths-based protective factors training, as well as coaching and consultation to our partners. And so we'll go. And so we, again, were able to help them launch both of their sites last summer. I believe Pastor Duncan's site launched in July of last year, and Bishop Stokes launched in last year. And so additionally, we have been able to provide over that number you see on the screen has increased since creating this slide, but 29 consulting meetings ranging from hiring needs to community needs assessments, providing tools to carry that out, as well as service array, collaborations, data collection, sustainability, customer service, and more. And so in addition to that, we've had 3 formal trainings, which has been on the PSF Family Resource Center model, as well as that protective factors training that we've been able to provide to both of our sites. And then lastly, the standards of quality for family resource centers has been really helpful. Our consultant sites have said to them, developing and getting those sites up and running. Know that this is kind of just the beginning, as last year was the first year of the consulting program, but we are looking forward to helping them sustain their growth, as well as adding new additional sites for our consulting program this year. Appreciate your support in that.
I was just going to add to this portion. This year, we were able to have one more of our staff become a trainer for the protective factors. So we also hope to be sharing out soon some opportunities for not only our staff and consulting partners, but also for other community partners to be able to participate with that training. We had someone come out and do it for us several years ago, and the request to participate was overwhelming. We had to turn folks away because we were only allowed to have 30 participate. So we're excited about that opportunity as well. I also want to share, I'm going to back up for just a minute because I missed on when we were looking at outcomes. I just want to share, I think we have probably shared here before that we were part of a federal grant. That grant is just now wrapping up. So we actually have kind of finished our 5th year, and we have a little bit of extension on it. But we have some really exciting outcomes. I did not have them when we developed the presentation. We just found out Friday, but I think we're going to have some really good news to share as far as how the resource centers and what their impact is on child welfare outcomes. So we're really excited to be able to share that. It will probably be coming within just a few weeks. And then our final slide is just kind of what's next and how are we expanding our reach. China already mentioned we have a new community resource navigation site. We actually were able to move out of Micanopy because he has a fully running resource center there. So our community resource navigator left that site and is now at the Newberry Branch Library. And I understand it's early days. She only started in January, but I understand things are going well there. And we're also looking at some of our other sites who maybe don't have the numbers that we want to see. And we're looking at how can we do additional outreach? Are we in the right location within that community? And all of those types of things are being asked. So we fully expect to continue expanding that program. We are going to incorporate Help Me Grow Alachua. It is rolling out in April. I was very nervous about putting that date, but we're steady getting ready for that. We have hired our staff. I would say that's another difference from 2 or 3 years ago. It was very difficult to hire staff, but all of our positions are currently filled and they're in training, and we're really ready to move forward with that program. We'll be doing some outreach out in the community, at physicians' offices, early learning centers, kind of really getting the word out there. And then our staff who are being trained now will be able to provide some developmental screenings. They can talk to families about developmental needs and do some coaching, lots of events. But the idea is really bringing in families who have children 0 to 8, and then especially those who have children who may have some additional needs and may not have access to resources. Very much looking forward to rolling that program out in April. And again, there is a flyer in your handouts there. And then finally, additional consulting partners. We'll be wrapping up with the Willie Mae Stokes Resource Center and one community resource center in April. And so we are looking forward to adding 2 additional sites this year. Thank you.
Members, questions?
Thanks for the presentation, and I always start with what you said first, which was the whole idea is to reduce child abuse and neglect, really, really, really. And I heard you say that you have some data that's coming out shortly, and how are we going to get that information? Are you coming back? Are you going to send us a report? Can it get on the agenda? I don't want to tell you what to put on the agenda, but that's exactly why we're interested in what you're doing.
And if I thought I could have brought it today and made sure it was 100% ready to go, we would have brought it. I would say we could start with a report if that's helpful, so you have something ahead of time, and then we can look to get back on the agenda to share that information.
And then, go back to the numbers about the patrons and stuff. Looking at the numbers, are not the parents and caregivers, are they not part of the 21,441? Don't they comprise most of that? Probably.
They do, and I'm sorry, I should have pulled the numbers with the duplicates the same way. I think they do comprise the majority of that number. Again, the 21,000 does include duplicates because it's visits. And I didn't separate it out that way. The other numbers are unduplicated, and but I think the majority of those that we serve are parents or caregivers, or for us, if we're serving and we're building that stronger community, we believe that they're going to be better support systems for those families as well.
So as you were saying, you don't believe that that's really the number 17, 18, but of the parents and caregiver supported, that really comprises pretty much all the services it provided, does it not? I mean, I'll provide multiple services. Number really, is there another group that is getting all these services?
I don't understand the question. Do you mean, is there a group that are not parents and caregivers?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a group that are not parents and caregivers. And again, we're kind of working on cleaning up those numbers because it's self-reported. Basically, when they come in, we're asking them, are you a parent or caregiver of a child under the age of 18? If we're working closely with them, then that's something we're going to know and be able to check for them. But if they're there for a food distribution or financial literacy or different types of things that they may be on site for and they may not have the children with them at the time, then it's a self-reporting method. And we're really working, had some kind of difficulties with our data collection system, and that we were collecting that and then it wasn't staying with them. So when they came back, we were losing that information, and those are the type of things we're working on, because I suspect it's much higher, but there is still going to be a population that are not parents and caregivers.
Well, anything, because it adds to your story, accurate the numbers are, so.
We did Help Me Grow through a different contractor, and it never got off the ground running. We thought that with Help Me Grow being a system of care that really works with families who have children between birth and 8, and if we already had resource centers, why not see if we can pull those already receiving services?
We provided.
Are absolutely right.
And then last question is,
Hey, it might come back. Sometimes it comes back, you get up there in the 90s, that happens. Dr. Labarda,
I just, just a little bit of moral support, prevention data is a fair to collect accurately because you're not providing a direct service. It's not a one-to-one billing kind of situation. You're often just counting heads, and it is really a fair that data. So this is amazing that you're getting it. I would love to see a report, but also a presentation. I think those of us who have worked with, partnered with the resource centers over the years have gotten just used to having them there. And I think we need to just see that data, to just see the value add to the community over this.
I think we'll be excited to share it.
Yeah,
So yeah, we just
absolutely.
have the preliminary results, but
I remember back meeting with you guys and seeing all of the different kinds of data you were collecting. So to see that aggregated and to see the impact, I think will mean a lot to this group. So I'd really like to see both the report and a comment, share it so we can brag some.
happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Labar. We're going to go back to Commissioner Pinkerton and Judge Bullard.
As y'all expand, where do y'all?
Yeah, they actually lost funding. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the funding obviously has come from the Children's Trust. Our Community Resource Navigation Program is fully funded by the Children's Trust. But I think for us, the consulting program, this is where we're able to expand our reach without expanding our need for additional funding and our capacity. So we're kind of passing that on to our consulting partners. They're individuals who are either already providing, they already had a resource center in their community, or it's something that they're very interested in doing. And so we're kind of passing on our model and our experience, and we're allowing others to expand the model and then kind of reach back out to us for technical assistance. So it kind of saves us funding and, allows us to continue to grow. And, we have hopes with the legislature that, there's going to be money that's carved out. I think partnership is way ahead of some others and other areas as far as our ability to provide prevention work. We're ahead of the game. So, we're hoping that some good things come out of the legislature to where there will be funding directly to support prevention work. And then we would really, we could look at the possibility of expanding that way. And then also with our community resource navigation program, we've saved, that was our way also of expanding to rural, primarily rural. They're not a rural community. Some of them are just areas of Gainesville that weren't previously served by our resource centers, but it allowed us to expand without all of the other expenses. It's really one staff that we have a total of 2 right now, and they are 1 to 2 days a week in those different, providing the same level of services, and they're bringing in community partners, and they're trying to meet community needs, but without having the brick and mortar location, we're really able to save funding that way as well.
Judge Bullard and Member Circle.
Are you all working directly with the school board, college to connect families and children?
I know, I'll start with Santa Fe. I know that we work closely with them, and so I feel like we have a really pretty good grasp on that and being able to get our partners over. We have programs that are like community scholarships. So we have grant funds, and that may be another response to his question as well. Like, we have a lot of small grants that allow us to do all of our programs and services. We have a community scholarship program, and we're able to kind of help folks overcome barriers to getting started, either in a certification program or college, or even if it's straight to work, but they don't have the equipment, we can help purchase that through community scholarships. And then we are connected with the school board, and I think that we have times where that's going really well because we have staff that are very vested in it. Our SWAG Family Resource Center, the Southwest Advocacy Group funds one of our positions there, and she is a liaison between kind of the kids we have in homework help and the school system. It's definitely an area I think we could continue to improve.
Thank you. Lee, I just wanted to tell you, were asking where they get I have several items that are funded on page 51 if you're looking at. But my question was kind of between the two, well, and Christy. Mentioned Christy that they helped me grow. I think that was it was funded by a different organization. It was Priska, right? That's how we that was.
No, that was not the Pritzker grant. It's always been trust funding. And we funded a different contractor, but that Pritzker was the early childhood that's helped us support the early childhood. It was the relationship between WIC and Healthy Start, but it was not Help Me Grow.
So if the other contractor did not get off the ground, analyze why and
Right. Much of it had to do with staffing.
Lack of.
Or yes, they were unable to staff, to get the program off the ground running. There were some relationships locally, meaning in Alachua County, that they struggled with a little bit. We made sure that we, updated Partnership for Strong Families upfront with what the issues were with the other contractor. We also made sure there were several meetings with statewide Help Me Grow to support, the need to ensure it got off the ground running. They already have their staff. That's half of the battle right there. Have their staff, they're in training to access the Help Me Grow, system. I think it's STAR, I don't remember at this point. STAR, thank you. And so that was a lot of the issue there.
so the prior contract with that previous contractor, those funds weren't spent by the trust, but they weren't spent. And then lastly, I guess there's a lot, I know there are a lot of folks that can come in and use the family resource, not the guardians of children under 18. How are we ensuring that the funding from the trust, because by statute, that's what these funds have to support children and families, zero. How are you ensuring that you're allocating and using those as per the statute?
Have any particular way that we're tracking that? I think we've been pretty clear, from the very beginning and as part of our contracts that we do serve individuals who do not have children in the home, and that we believe that I think the concept has always been that by, building stronger communities, we're right along with them. It's, I think one of the priorities is that we're allowing those children to be in safer communities, those families. And so, I think it's just
I don't disagree with that. I'm just, I guess I'm like, I just asked a question just because like, say, like there are organizations that support K-12 education, right? And they may be housed there, but in K-12 supports, the district may support other people, but the district can't, and like charters can't get the funding. That's the reason why I asked the question. It's just that I don't disagree with what you're saying.
and if
But
there is
you
something
have
we
to-
need to be doing, if there is anything we need to be doing differently, we would.
We gotta, you kind of gotta make sure that.
Yeah, I view that as we're paying for capacity. We're paying for the capacity to serve the families. If other people wander in and the cost is not any higher for them wandering in, what you're paying for is the capacity for families to receive these resources. And so I don't think there's a problem. That's a legal question, but I think we're paying to have capacity. If they were turning away families and accepting others, I'd have an issue with it. But as long as they're not turning away families that come in, that's the capacity we've paid for.
I've been at the library partnership after school, and the kids. And things like that. It's every afternoon, and you guys are always there and helping. And I told her the other day, I want to be a volunteer as soon as I retire. I'm headed there.
All right, any further?
Just for us to remember, the way we started funding these was that originally these were funded by Title IV beds. And they changed the definition of the kinds of prevention services that they would allow to be funded. And we were at risk of totally losing the family. That change in funding. So for those of us been around and have longer memories as a result. Can't remember what I need from the grocery store, but I can remember that old stuff. That's how we got here. We were at risk of losing what I considered the gem of our social support structure.
My only comment is really building on what Dr. Hart and what Dr. Labarda said with regards to we are really able, through the recent work that we've done with the consultant model across the entire county using other providers. From my perspective, right now up in Tallahassee, and even a lot of Doge going on about efficient use of public funds. And I would very much like for this reporting to highlight what we are doing in Alachua County and specifically through your work. And so Stacy, trying to thank you for your presentation. Really appreciate it. All right, the recommended action is to receive the report. Can I get a motion? I got a motion from Labarda, a second from member Chance. Any further discussion from the board? Any public discussion on the presentation? Pastor Stokes, come forward, please.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to, on behalf of the community, William A. Stokes Community Center, I wanted to thank Partnership because their support has been invaluable for our program. There's an excitement that is building in Micanopy because now we have the opportunity to offer additional resources. The training that they have given, the assistance that they have given, it's been, like I said, it's been a great thing for our community center. And so I want to thank Children's Trust for funding our program, but also for the work that China and Stacy has provided for our staff. Our community is becoming even better because of what we have been able to establish. I certainly want to thank them and to thank you all for and the resources in the town. Absolutely.
Pastor Stokes, and congratulations on the recognition upcoming of the MLK breakfast. I would say, members, that when we have our joint meeting with the county, one of the items on the county's agenda, discuss how we are delivering resources to the community to bringing them to the community, and what Pastor Stokes is doing is more funding there, and we need more of that. Anyone else from the public? Timer worked great. All right, let's bring it back to the board. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, I've been accused of moving too slow, so I'm trying to get through this agenda nice and easy. So we're on item 12 now, which is Teamwork Fall Civic Leadership Program. The recommended action for that is that you are recognized.
Oh, good afternoon. I am Sharday Goodlow, Program Manager of Teamwork Alachua. Tonight, I will be presenting on our 2024 Fall Civic Leadership Program that we hosted at the end of last year. I would like to thank the Children's Trust of Alachua County for this collaboration, because not only has it given us the opportunity to serve more students in Alachua County, but it's also given us the opportunity to see as we hope to build a new Alachua's Civic Leadership Program was born out of an idea to serve more Alachua County students outside of our summer programming. And
Oh, the screen time's out? Oh, okay.
I think so.
One way to move it along. Wasn't me, I swear. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Teens Work Alachua's Civic Leadership Program was born out of an idea to serve more Alachua County students and to provide programming outside of our normal summer programming. This also allows us the opportunity to work more one-on-one with our students to hone in on certain skills. Those skills include leadership skills, financial literacy skills, community engagement, and other soft skills and employability skills. In addition to those trainings, students also have the opportunity to work on volunteer opportunities, and we're able to glean wisdom from community leaders through our leadership speakers series, where leaders such as Executive Director Marsha Kiner and Goodwill CEO David Ray. This was a favorite part of our leadership program. As we heard from our students, they really enjoyed hearing from the local leaders, and they particularly enjoyed hearing from our entrepreneurs who came to speak. Students have the opportunity to earn up to 10 hours a week for 10 weeks at $13 an hour. We started the program with 45 students enrolled. We finished with 38 students having completed over 60 hours. We also had 37 students complete their My Florida Ready to Work soft skills certificates, which we were really excited about this year. Our 2024 fall performance measures provided by Bonnie. As you can see, we had 45 students who were served in our program. We had 7 community leaders come out to speak to our students. Had 84% of our teens complete 4 hours within our 10-week program. As you can also see, 100% of our students felt our program was valuable. They felt that they were better equipped to be leaders, and 100% felt more confident at the conclusion of our program. As you can also see, we had 80% of our students complete or work towards our civic engagement project, and we had, I can see it there, 82% of our students were able to earn their My Florida to Work certificate. In addition to the trainings we provided, students were able to engage in a community project where they decided to focus on the topic of community beautification. Because our students noted that they felt that the east side of Gainesville was less developed than other parts of Gainesville and was more littered as well. So in order to conduct this project, students broke themselves into 6 different committee groups. Those committees: Brown, the Flyers Committee, the Storytelling Committee, the committee, and the Glad we have one of the slides the students put into the project that we did turn into report, and would also like to share with the board at the conclusion of this. Some of the service events that our students participated over the course of the 10 weeks. Our students at Grow Hub, where we learned gardening fundamentals with Keep Alachua Beautiful. They also participated in a community and public art project at Depot Park. And last but not least, we project at the historical Evergreen Cemetery. Snapshot of some of the artwork and infographics that our students completed over the course of the project. Again, we will share the students' actual projects with you so that you can see more of their artwork and the flyers that they produced for this community beautification project. Here's the cover page of the community beautification toolkit that our Engaging Leaders Committee together. This is a really beautiful resource that highlights local community leaders. It has their contact information, cold call scripts, email scripts, so that other student leaders or community groups who are interested in beautification can have a toolkit to get started with the work. So our storytelling committee put together all of our committee work into one large scale project. These are just a couple of the slides from the students from their work. And we're just really proud because this project was a completely student-led project. We did have our job coaches here to help facilitate and to mentor along the way. But the students did their own research. They again made their own graphics and flyers. They helped to organize the community events that we participated in. And again, we're able to put this all together in all the work that we did over the last 10 weeks. I have some pictures of our students at work within their committee group. And we have some about their experience with the fall. Feel free.
Hello, my name is Denisa Jones. I'm 17 years old and a junior at Lofton High School. During my time in the Fall Leadership Program, I really resonated with the speakers that we had, like Ms. Marsha, the League of Women Voters of Alachua County, how they got there and how they're managing it with their life. During service activities at Depot Park, Evergreen Cemetery, I learned especially communication is individually. Like, I believe communication. One key skill that I
for like books if they're reading, and what you guys mentioned too, to be sure to include the middle and high school kids. So glad we could help. So it's not a big lift, but any kind of a lift hopefully can help.
Anything, Madam Chair?
I really appreciate the summary in tab 6 of all things funded. I'm wondering, and I don't know if any of the sister trusts do this, about listing who's funded under our priorities on our website. Not necessarily with this level of detail, but rather than, I mean, it's there, it's public information, it's on our board packets, but as an accountability measure to the community of who's doing this work. And then perhaps at the end, I know you list when RFPs are open, but then you could tell people next cycle, so then they could have a conversation or know who's being funded in each.
I think also adding to that, they're funding over 100,000 to the community foundation. Kind of giving a stamp of approval on many of these organizations. Okay, anything else? Dr. Hart, anything? Okay.
Follow up to that, community needs is.
And I know a lot of the funders actually require data back to what they're funding. And so.
Yeah, I mean, I think our goal is to make sure that the organizations that are providing the kind sufficient data to know that they in fact are, it is sort of like GuideStar, if you ever navigated that.
Here.
Maker of the agenda. It was great, these presentations, I wrote it in the comments, it was great that we could hear the presentations. It wasn't rushed. You know, we had to do justice to the presentation, presentations, Bonnie.
Bonnie gets chalked out.
They usually don't get much of an opportunity because the agenda is so jammed. So perhaps we can look at it if the agenda is jammed and we have a number of presentations, maybe we just. Because if they're gonna spend the time and effort. Allow them to do, should.
I will tell you that when Christy and I did the agenda review, we kind of went through how much time, and we were happy to see that we. That's all, Christy, on that one, so thank you. Okay, my only one is Saturday, March 29th. Open house, if you all could be here for some period of time, if you could let Christy know if you are able to attend and when, that will help staff kind of make sure that you're public. We've got the comprehensive literacy plan assessments in your backup. Next meeting for the regular board meeting will be April 7th at 4 o'clock. And then we also have a joint meeting with the Alachua County Commission. 3 o'clock at the county administration building. If you ask for a parking pass, you can probably park in the garage and then get a parking pass. I have to figure out how to make sure everyone has a place to park because it's not as easy as having a parking. I'll work on that on the.
Jeff, tell them the whole board will meet except you.
That is correct. Okay. I have a parking pass, but yes.
That's why I said except you.
We'll have to figure out how to get you guys parking passes. Okay. Is there anything else?
I was gonna say, I went and grabbed my big coat before I left home today because it was so cold here last time. I said, they're probably gonna think I'm crazy, but it's in as cold today, but I still said I'm bringing my heavy coat. Sorry.
Checking your thyroid.
Yeah, you know?
Like how, and I liked how we put member certain right beneath the vent. I saw her. She seemed like she really enjoyed all that cool air. Yes, keep you cool over there. I see that. Okay, so let the meeting reflect. We are adjourned at 5:36. Way ahead of Chad.
Not really, but it wasn't much. And they got to do what they do.